Hey everyone, today on Learn ASL, we're going to teach you about deaf culture. First question, what are some tips for conversing with a deaf person?
Maintain eye contact. If you look away, it's like going like this if someone's trying to have a conversation with you. Also, don't focus too much on their hands. Focus on their face. Any other tips?
It's important to not beat around the bush. Just say what you have to say. However, don't be inappropriately blunt and rude. Are there any other tips?
Yeah, eavesdropping on someone else's conversation, it really isn't considered rude. If you're signing in public, everyone can see your hands. If you want to have a private conversation, go to a separate room. Now, all these tips are great, but what if I feel my signing just isn't good enough to talk to a deaf person?
Don't worry about not being good enough. If you feel you're here and deaf people are here, they'll match your signing level so that you can understand. Now, I've heard that deaf people come from deaf families. Is that true?
Actually, no. 90% of deaf people are born into hearing families, and 90% of those families never actually learn sign language, which is the reason the deaf community is so tight-knit. You'll often see deaf people hang out with their friends over their family. Now, I've heard of a CODA. What is that?
CODA stands for Child of Deaf Adult. A CODA is a hearing person who was born to one or two deaf parents, and their first language was probably sign language, despite the fact that they can hear. So, can deaf people talk on the phone?
Yeah, but probably not in the way you're thinking. They use what's called the Video Relay Service, or VRS. If a deaf person calls another deaf person using VRS, it's a lot like your standard FaceTime. However, if a deaf person calls a hearing person, or vice versa, there's an interpreter. That interpreter wears a headset, has a screen, and a camera. And that interpreter will voice what the deaf person signs and will sign what the hearing person says. So, what do deaf people do for fun?
What do hearing people like to do for fun? Go to the movies, play sports, hang out with friends. What deaf people especially love to do is they love to tell stories and jokes. And that's really a beautiful part of their culture. And that's all for this video. If you have any questions or comments, put them down below. And always remember to use our hashtag